Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 6. Most of you turned in your project ones. Great job. I've started to skim over them. They look great. The ones I've seen so far, you all did the work to put in the work after my comments to make sure they were up to snuff. I'm really impressed and glad that everyone has invested in that project. Forgive my casual attire. It is warm outside and this is online teaching, so I can wear whatever the hell I want. Let's see. This week we have to introduce Project 2. We've got a question of the day. That should be it. Hopefully it is a painless video. Let us share our screen. There we go. Here is the content page. You will notice again that Project 1 now we're all done with. The final draft was due on Sunday. There are no more late assignments accepted. I had a couple people turn them in just the day before, but now I've started grading, so that's cut off. Again, for all of you who turned it in, great job. We are now on to Project 2, so press Project 2 on your sidebar, and you'll see Project 2 is set up a lot like Project 1. We have the assignment sheet itself, a planning worksheet, which is something that I want you guys to look at. It will help you start to work through your process, your brainstorming, what you need to do for this project. We have a rough draft worksheet that'll help you once you're at the rough draft stage. We have 3 samples that we'll look at next week. And you'll note the rough draft itself is due in 3 weeks' time, basically due July 21st. And the final draft is due the week after that. So you've got a lot of time to work. But it's better to start as early as possible. Again, we're gonna do the samples next week. So let's just start by looking over the assignment sheet. Okay, so what the point of this project is it's something that you're gonna have in a lot of your jobs in the future, no matter what those jobs are. It's not gonna be set up exactly like this, but the idea will be the same, which is basically you're going to know how to do something, or you're going to learn more often how to do something, and then you're going to have to teach other people how to do it. Your job will be to show them in a simple manner how they can go about and complete a procedure, right? It's an instruction set. So this can either be for other coworkers or for like customers, if you're working in a sales position or in a business position that's forward facing, or in a retail position. If you are working as something more than just a clerk. I find this project to be a lot of fun because it's going to take something that you know well, and you're going to get to explain it to me in a measured and a kind of fancy way. So before deciding on a task, consider the following guidelines. You should choose something you are very familiar with. So it can be related to your field of study, whatever your major is or what you want to major in if you're going to a four-year institution, or something related to a general audience, like how to juggle, how to change a car tire, etc. Ideally, your audience should be someone who has never performed this task before. So pretend as if I have never done this. You just start from square one. If it is how to change a car tire, just assume that I've never changed a car tire, that I don't even know what a car jack is. You need to teach me all of the basics and all of the process. Choose a task with an appropriate level of difficulty. This is something that you have to finish up in 3 pages. That includes pictures, so it can't be too complicated. But it also can't be something super duper simple. How to juggle is actually probably a bad example. Your task may involve the device, assembling it, operating or fixing it, or some process like registering for classes at a university. The process should have discrete parts or steps that are fairly easy to name and refer to. So again, for that changing the car tire, you've got to put the jack in, you've got to jack up the jack, you have to unscrew the little things, you have to take off the tire. Those are all clear steps. They don't bleed into one another, and that's what we're looking for. And again, your task should be explained in at least 3 pages, single-spaced with visuals. So again, this should all be single-spaced. You'll see in the samples how this looks, right? Where you have usually the instructions themselves down one side and the pictures down the other side. corresponding with one another. You can add lines between each step, is really helpful for clarity, but the key is to have instructions on one side and the pictures showing these instructions on the other. And you can either find these pictures online by Googling the different steps of your process, or you can do the process yourself and take your own pictures. So if it's like, for instance, how to make homemade brownies, and that's the instructions you want to do, you can take pictures every step of the way as you are making your own homemade brownies. And as an added bonus, you get to make brownies. So here are some options of what you can do. Before you write, consider the rhetorical situation for your instructions. So this will be in the planning worksheet, will help you determine the purpose, audience, context, and content for your instructions. Again, if you think of the audience as me, someone who's never done this before, and the purpose to make sure I'm able to do it, it will really help the way that you lay out your instructions. Okay, so here's the content. First, we have an introduction or background information. So you'll see this in the samples, but you provide the reader with the following information: an overview of all the steps, a definition of any terms or concepts, any cautions or warnings if this is a dangerous task, a sense of how long the task will take and where they should perform the task. Moreover, in this part, and this isn't on the assignment, so I'll only see this for people who actually watch the video and you'll get bonus points. I want to know some background about the task itself. So if it is changing a car tire, some background that says, like, while a lot of people these days have AAA or other roadside coverage, sometimes you're in a pinch and really need to change your own car tire. These are helpful instructions toward that end, right? Just something that introduces so you don't jump right in. If it is about a food, you can talk about the history of that food, right? Anything like that will be interesting. And again, you'll see those in the samples. Next, you have a list of materials or ingredients needed. Then any diagrams, drawings, photographs, figures, and tables, right? That is going to be corresponding to each step. Then a list of steps in chronological order. So they should go as the process goes. At the very end, and this is important, you want troubleshooting tips. So if people are changing a car tire, make sure to mention that, oh, I don't know, to make sure they don't mistake the old lugs for the new lugs. I don't know, guys. You can make this up. It's your instructions. And finally, at the very end, a glossary of key terms and definitions, right? That's going to be very important. You've got to make sure you have that. So they should be normally organized in chronological order. Format, a clear hierarchy of headings and subheadings, which means for each step, if there are steps within that step, it should be obvious that there are steps within that step, right? Like, think when you have bulleted lists, like an outline, you can have this here, and then that will tab over for the sub-step. Well-chosen fonts, you want this to look nice. Numbered lists and bulleted lists where appropriate. An appropriate amount of white space. You should have some amount of space for people to digest the material, but it can't be all spaced out to get through 3 pages. When we say 3 pages, we're looking at something that's at least 10 steps. So 10 steps minimum, we'll call it for the instructions. Effective use of alignment, make this look good. You do not want this to be centered. You want it to be spaced out on both sides. Effective use of contrast. You'll see that again in the samples. And consistently use design features. So once you start a design a certain way, you have to use it throughout the process. You should not change the way that you are designing something in the middle. So your font should always stay the same. The way that you space out instructions and images should stay the same. The way that you have bulleted lists should be the same each time. If you have headers for different sections of the processes, that should stay the same, etc. So evaluation is pretty straightforward. The content and organization is good, and it's clear that it's appropriate for the intended audience, which is me, who has never done the task before. Finally, style is going to matter. I'm going to grade you for a professional ethos. This should look good. If you look at it and you say, this looks like shit, but I'm just going to turn it anyways, know that you will lose points on that. It should look good. It should look like something you want to hand someone. that they can then use this process. Think about if you're doing a recipe, the difference between poorly handwritten recipe and a recipe you see online with images and sub-steps and ingredients, etc. So you'll notice the first deadline is this Sunday. You want to select what you are going to do instructions about. Now, this does not have anywhere to turn it in. This is on you. This is like the honor system. I want you all by this Sunday to figure out what you want to do your instructions on, whether it's the car tire or the brownies or whatever it is. It can be way more complex and interesting than that. These are just two examples. I want that by this Sunday so that then you have a couple of weeks to work on your rough draft. The rough draft's due 2 weeks after that. Final draft's due a week after that. This is worth 25% of your grade. Okay. So we will look at these samples next week. You can also look at them yourself. They should give you a pretty good idea of what we're working with. This one, as you can see, is a little busier. It has less images, more writing, which is important for something like how to manage type 1 diabetes that has a lot of steps and sub-steps. We'll also look at, if it loads, how to make green onion pancakes. This one is an ingredients list. You'll see, right, ingredients, you'll see the background information, and you'll see all the steps with the pictures that the person actually took. And finally, just for ideas, how to draw SpongeBob. You need some background information and then each of the individual steps. If anyone here knows how to draw SpongeBob. Okay, time for question of the day here at the end. So this one, obviously, it's going to help in your brainstorming process for the second project, but it is, what is something you know how to do that most people do not know how to do? How does it feel having that expert knowledge? Do you ever try to help people understand how to do it? And how well has that process of teaching other people gone? So again, try to choose something that you've tried to show someone else so you can hit the word count. But what's something you know how to do that most people do not know how to do? Give some background information about that thing, about how you know how to do it. How does it feel having that expert knowledge? Do you ever try to help people understand how to do it? And how well has that process of teaching them gone? All right, that's the question of the day. That is all your content for this week. I look forward to getting any questions if people have them about their instruction sets for Project 2. But besides that, I'll talk to you guys in a few days.